good friend of mine comes to me in Shul and says, I just got back from Bike for Chai. And it is the most unbelievable experience for the most unbelievable call, right? And just, he says, Aaron, you have to do it. Next year, you have to do Bike for Chai. I'm like, so I'll do it. Okay, step one, learn to ride a bike.
None of your business, Oshi. None of your business, Michael.
It's the None of Your Business podcast, hosted by Michael and Oshi.
Welcome back, everybody, for part 2 of the 2-part series, which became...
We've never had this before.
Never happened, but we had to.
This is really accolades to you, is that we could keep this conversation going and going, that we need more.
Yeah.
We want more. We want an encore. we demand
I'm actually
more.
enjoying listening. You know, I've practiced for over 5 years already, the concept of listening and the therapy that I started 5 years ago. So I'm appreciating this discussion so much because a lot of what you're saying resonates with me in my beginnings. I've learned a lot from you, Rabbi, and tools that I've effectively made positive change in my life. And that's why I'm so happy that you're here. Guys, this episode, as always, is sponsored by Prime Source. We can't do it without our partners' help. So thank you, everybody, for participating in our journey of growth. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. I must say that, as always, we need your help to grow because together we are stronger. We can't do this without everybody's help. Rabbi, we're back for round 2, and it's a continuation of our first discussion, which we were talking about your journey of being a Rebbe, being a therapist, learning the difference between being guilty and doing something, the contrast between avoiding something versus having control of something. We've learned so much. We want to take it to the next level, the next journey of your life, when you, of course, were selected as the rabbi of such a beautiful shul in our community. And I would love to learn about your experiences that go on in that shul and what happens at Kiddush and how do you deal with Kiddush Club in general? What do you do about talking? You know, I have the privilege of being what my community calls the beadle of my shul because I make the announcements. You see, I used to be part of shuls that fought a lot. And I live.
the gabbai of your shul?
No, I'm just the announcer. That's all I do. I get up and I make
the announcement.
Nope, the gabbai takes care of the tehillim. He takes care of the announcing for health of people in the community. Takes care of announcing the person that comes up to the Torah.
So what do you announce?
I just announce the times and I announce the mazel tovs.
You realize that's very strange, right?
Yeah, it's a beetle. It's a
No. Most shuls.
Yes. I do realize it's strange. Yeah, it's different. Strange in a good way. Yes.
The gabbai makes those announcements.
Absolutely.
He's
Absolutely.
the public address.
Well, I'm telling you that in ancient times, it was called a beadle. Look it up, Google it.
Sure.
With a staff and someone that, you know, announces the king and so on.
It's a specific skill set.
Yes.
Because a lot of times the gabbai is a very organized person, very personable, has good relationships with everybody, knows all the, but they don't have that loud, articulate voice. And when they get up to make an announcement, people are like, wow, what is it? So having somebody who, you know, can make that announcement and everyone be heard, has the loud projected voice, clearly articulated words.
That's Michael.
So Rabbi,
Sounds like Michael to me.
I'm going to jump right into it. And I'm going to tell this to you because this happened in my shul. And I'm not afraid to share it because this is what we do here. We're transparent.
Others
we're vulnerable.
might not appreciate it as much.
Others
But you're
definitely
okay
don't
with
appreciate it. And, you know, look, when I came back after October 7th to my shul, I felt that I needed to talk about October 7th. I'm not the rabbi. I'm not the gabbai. In fact, all I am is the announcer. Like you said, all I am is the guy that can project articulately, you know, say mazel tov to the right families and remember the father's name and the brother's name and make everyone feel good. But when I came back from Israel, I felt the need to mention something about October 7th. And what I did is that I announced to the shul before I said the times and the mazel tovs, I said, good Shabbos, everybody. And I started like I always do. Welcome to all of our guests. Thank you to our Gabayim and to our Balei Tefillah. I always start off the same way. This week, I was at a college campus where there's tremendous hate going on campus. And I went with a grassroots effort of a few good men and women out of the Rockland County community and Muncie community. And we went to sing and we went to hold, you know, each other, you know, together and really give that feeling of achdus, of togetherness, of that we're here together as Jews and we're here for you. And I invite anybody in the congregation that would want to come with me. I'll be going for the next 6 Thursdays together with people in the community. I invite you to come. And Mazel Tov to this, and Kiddush is sponsored by that. And I finished. Afterwards, somebody came over to me and said, is it your place to invite people to a get together on a college campus where men and women are together mixed and they're singing and dancing together? Is that your place to invite people? Who do you think you are? This is what he told me. My response to him was, listen, you do your part in keeping quiet during davening and, not saying Lashon Hara, and I'll do my part. And this is just what I feel. I feel like I have the podium. I have the right to do it. Okay. The second week came and I made a different announcement of something else that I did.
Did the rabbi say anything to you?
No.
Did the rabbi have a
no?
problem with it?
By the way, it's a board shul, which means that the shul hires the rabbi. So, the board can come to me at any time and stop me, but that's not what was happening.
I hate those
people in the shul. People in the shul were done.
Are not real shuls.
It happens to be that
because the rabbi has very limited power.
No.
As soon as the rabbi is part of a board,
not true,
and he's controlled now, and he can't be entirely himself. What's the purpose of having a rabbi?
No, that's very difficult though. No, it's very difficult because if the rabbi's in charge completely of the shul, that means he's responsible for the kiddush and the shalosh shuddis and the malava malkas and the avos. There's too many responsibilities. No,
yes,
it's too difficult.
Decision.
He's also the
CEO.
He's a hired CEO, and he could do just as good as a job.
That's fine.
Right? That's what we're talking about.
Hiring him to give him that.
I will tell you, as the rabbi of a board shul, I have never found the board to interfere with the work that I want to do in the shul.
Exactly. As long as you give the power to the rabbi to make all halachic decisions.
Yet.
Okay, there are a lot of things I haven't found yet, but
but you have to admit that it's very possible.
Listen,
when something goes against the grain that they don't like, they can apply the pressure. And they can put their thumb on the scale, and they can outweigh the rabbi.
But here's the thing. I don't view my position as the rabbi in the shul as being the ultimate authority in all things, right? That's not my role. My role is to, number one, make halachic decisions, and this is clearly articulated in the shul constitution, that it is my authority, to answer or to deal with any religious issues that need to be answered from a religious perspective, and to give the education, to decide who gets to speak in the shul and who doesn't get to speak in the shul. Like, my role is clearly articulated, and the board is there to assist me and to take off of my shoulders the things that don't have to be in my lane.
If you're putting it like that, that's great. But it sounds to me like in most cases there is a board as a checks and balance for the rabbi. I mean, we don't want the rabbi to have certain decision-making that might not sit well with us as the people, and therefore we want to control how much infiltration he can have into our lives and how far he can take certain things. Look, I come from a background where I went to Hasidic shuls my whole life. From my background. Obviously, when I got married, I never went to Hasidic shuls again, and I got to see both sides of the spectrum. Right? There's two types of shuls. There's a shul where the rabbi is the end-all, be-all. Right, he's usually called a rebbe in most cases
because he started the
rebbe. He says whatever he wants, and everybody follows. He's the spiritual rabbi. He guides everybody, and whatever he says is what we're going to do, whether we like it or not. It's not going to like. Too bad. We made an active decision that we're going to follow. Then you have the other shul where the rabbi serves a certain purpose, and the rabbi gets paid, and it's a job is really what it is. And there's a board, and nobody gets to make any decision on its own. The board has to approve it. Now, the board will give the space for the rabbi to be the chairman, and therefore the rabbi can make certain decisions that they allow him to make. But as soon as something goes a little bit far to the point that the shul, the board doesn't like it anymore, they can outnumber the rabbi.
And what's wrong with that?
So I don't know for me, it's not what's wrong with it. I think it's just what people are used to, what people want.
Yeah,
I see pros and cons on both sides. I've
experienced both sides as well. I must say that I'm not a fan of a control shul by a board. I'd rather have it by a rabbi, but I see how well it works when you have the community that worries about everything else. In other words, when you have a rabbi-run shul and you have a problem with the way the food is or the drink is or the size of the mechitza or what time things start or end, it's all the rabbi. Yeah. You have zero say. I'd rather have that in a way because it comes along with the rabbi says everything, but I really, not only do I see the merit, I appreciate the fact that I'm part of a shul that the community is standing behind each other. They're all supporting each other, and they bring in a rabbi that doesn't need more than his job to do his job properly. He doesn't need that No, you bring in a.
Sounds very celebratory.
What is the
It sounds like a symbol more than an actual position that I think people need.
what is the role of a rabbi?
Why don't you tell us, Rabbi Spivak?
Okay.
We're like making,
Good point.
Yeah. The subject
We said
matter
enough.
expert
Yes,
is in the room.
exactly,
We'll
exactly.
say
I would-
what we think
You want to talk about
why-
sales, marketing?
Yeah,
You could come to us.
exactly.
I would far
Why
from
don't you
consider
tell us?
myself the expert on the rabbi's role, but I will tell you that what you're describing in the two different types of shuls, there is the rabbi as the authority figure, right? Listen, you grow up, there's the parents, and then there's the teachers and the principal, and then when you're an adult, the authority figure is the rabbi, right? I don't love that role. I don't want to be in that role personally, and I'm not looking for someone to have that authority over me in my life in that way. I subscribe to the model of the rabbi as a resource in the lives of the people for the purpose of education, inspiration, halachic guidance when it's sought, right? Not a person who is going to usurp the autonomy of the individual, right? My shul, I'll give shiurim. People come, they learn, they enjoy, they walk away, right? You come, you have it start your day with a half-hour Gemara shir, and you walk out of your day. Your day is different. You're coming, there's a certain spirituality, a certain positive energy that you're walking away with. You sat with 12 other people in your shul, right? And the rabbi gave a Gemara shir that was interesting, hopefully, right? And you connected, you learned something, right? When you have a question, big or small, you have somebody who's available that you can ask. You come to shul, and hopefully a drasha inspires you, right? That's not celebratory. That's a very valuable role in the lives of the people. It does not have to be, I need my rabbi's permission to X, Y, and Z, right? A rabbi does not need to be that. Now, are there times and are there communities where that was called for? Maybe, right? But that's not what the role of a rabbi has to be, right? I am not looking to be the authority figure in anyone's life, right? My kids, as long as they need that, right? And then, and only for the sake of their development, right? And then for my kids, as early as possible, I turn over autonomy of their lives to them as much as is functional for them, right? So certainly the congregants in my community, many of whom are older than me, right? I'm not looking to be the authority in their life, right? It's not a role I want. And, we could talk about what's more ideal, what's less ideal. But you can be in a board-run shul where the rabbi is a very vital part of the shul, a very instrumental role in the lives of the community, but not hold the reins of power. And I think that's the distinction that we can make.
So I hear, okay, that's very well explained, and I agree there is a certain rabbi model that way that's built, but I want to give you another side of the coin. And you said something that I immediately, in my mind, triggered, as I want a rabbi as a resource. This is what you said. I don't look as my rabbi as a resource. And I'm actually on the opposite side of the coin, where I would fail in a system like this. I would fail. I think I'd become worse and a worse Jew to the point I'd probably stop going to shul at some point. I actually need that kick in the butt. I actually need to have somebody who tells me, which I don't like sometimes, and it's not, at that moment I feel annoyed and I feel frustrated, but when I have more clarity in my mind later on, I actually appreciate it. I need to have that fire of, I have somebody out there who's watching me, who's managing me, and if I get a little bit out of line, I got a little smack, I need to have that control, and I know, because I know ultimately it's good for me. But if you tell children in a classroom, there's going to be no teacher anymore, you guys are going to do whatever you want from now on, they're going to go, yeah, they're going to cheer, it's amazing. But then a couple of weeks later, the kids are going to go, oh my God, this is terrible. It's anarchy. Nobody likes that. It's chaos. Even kids will realize I need some structure. This is not fun anymore. They're going to start beating each other up. It's going to be terrible. I believe that today's generation, Rabbi Spivak, and tell me if you can resonate with this a little bit. In today's generation, I'm talking about the guys that are, 40 and younger. 40 and younger, from age 25 when you start going to your own shul, up to the point you go to your father's shul, then you go to when you get married, you go to a local shul wherever you live in your apartment. You don't have a real connection to that shul yet. When you get married and you have kids and you move to a neighbor, it's the first time you go to a shul. Those shuls today, for a majority, I'm being very bold here. I'm not saying just for myself, I'm saying a majority of people that are in the mainstream like me need to have that rabbi. It's good for us. And I'll challenge anybody who thinks it's not, needs to have that rabbi that is that power, that has that authority, because of all the things that are going on in the world today and the exposures that we have and the options that we have freedom. We have real freedom today. Let's not kid ourselves. And we can easily steer off the right and the left. I think the rabbi that is there, where you're our resource, and yes, you give the shiurim, you inspire us, you make a beautiful speech Shabbos morning. If that's what they become, I fear that is not going to work in the long run for today's generation, because we're not as good as that older generation.
There's one big difference.
We're not as good. We're much different, and we need to have that power.
I'm sorry, Yoshi. There's one big difference. We're adults. There's a big difference.
Doesn't matter.
With adults, you know what happens that I've learned over the years of dealing with kids, teenagers that become adults and adults that have addiction problems. I keep hearing this over and over again. Rabbi, please confirm this, to our listeners. At a certain age, a very young age, I might add, it's up to the person himself to actually seek out the tools and the resources that we put in front of them. So that's why I'm the board Rabbi Spivak system fan more than the rabbi telling you, where were you yesterday for Shacharis? I didn't see you come at 9 o'clock. You're coming late? What's happening with you? Everything okay? No, thanks.
Okay. I by the way, I'm so passionate, by the way, about this. Like, I not only do I disagree, I thank God.
Right.
I thank God that we have both options available to us.
Right.
Because I really think that it would be a downhill battle if we wouldn't have this. And if it was a policy and halacha that and when it comes to a shul, there has to be a board and they have to have decision-making power. By the way, you don't think the board gets in the way of spiritual decisions? You don't think it happens? You don't think the board
I
puts
cannot
themselves
think of one spiritual decision, and I'm in my shul now, it'll be 4 years in September. I cannot think of one spiritual decision where the board got in my way. Not one.
Or they not got in the way, but they had a little influence. Or
of course they have
maybe
influence.
They have influence. Okay, influence is okay.
It's my job to give what the people need. So I need to look to the elected representatives of the congregation to find out what the people need.
But what if you felt one way very strongly and the board, all of them, all 7 other people on the board didn't feel that way?
On a spiritual religious issue?
We really want to do it this way.
On a spiritual
you don't
issue?
conform a the bit?
And a spiritual
he wouldn't end up being the rabbi.
I would make my decision based on the needs of the people, because that's the most critical thing a rabbi, right? If you're just leading a generic congregation and hope the people sitting in front of you fall into the way the congregation is supposed to be, so you're not going to be effective. So obviously I'm gonna look to what the people. But I want to back up for a second here. You are adamant that you need that type of rabbi.
Not just me. Most
who's going to hold you accountable.
No,
I'm going to tell you one thing, and this goes back to our conversation from last time. I don't want to psychoanalyze you in front of the world. This connects to the fact that you are not yet at a place where you trust your own will. My will is not trustworthy. What I want and what I'm supposed to be is the paradigm that I want to live by, right? I'm not a good enough Jew because I'm pushing myself to be something that's different than my own will. I'm not going to get there by my will. My will is not going to push me there. So I need the outside influence to push me there. The day that you take the reins of your Judaism in your hands and say, what does my will tell me of the type of Judaism I want, and what is my will? What is my neshama? What am I connecting to? What does it mean to me in my life? You're not going to need the rabbi to tell you, where were you today? Because it's going to be about your will. Your will doesn't make excuses.
I think you're giving all of us a little too much credit. I think that a lot of people are in that place where they're not totally trusting themselves, yes. By the way, you know what? I go back to this. You know what the real barometer of a rabbi board versus a, all-empowered supreme leader rabbi? You know what the real barometer of the difference is? Can the people fire the rabbi? I think that question needs to be answered. If the people can fire the rabbi, I don't think that rabbi truly has the tools he needs to do his job and to be motivating and inspiring his congregation. If he feels at any point that he's in jeopardy, then he's automatically, as a human being, is going to make certain decisions that are not in the best interest of what he thinks the community needs, because he's always having to look over his shoulders. He's got to look over his back, and suddenly he can't make those decisions, what's good for God or what God wants. He's got, which is what I want my rabbi to be. If I can't be the guy, let him be the guy. And let him be the one that's inspiring me to get me there. And by the way, I want a rabbi who does it with a finesse. He does it with tact, skillfully. Not a rabbi who just like we're talking about a qualified rabbi, obviously, right? We're talking about someone who the people want. We brought you in. We voted for you. We brought you in. But once you bring him in, give him the power. Let him do his job. Why are you restricting him?
Just to clarify, if the whole congregation would decide we want to talk during prayer the entire time.
Correct.
And this is the kind of synagogue that we want
to be able to talk on our show.
I'm assuming this wouldn't be a good fit then, if that's what everyone decides, right? I'm asking you.
So interesting. I guess I'll give away like behind the door secrets. My first interview with the Rabbinical Search Committee.
Ooh.
They said,
what is that?
What is Can you explain what that is?
Yeah.
Like America's Got Talent for rabbis.
No. This was, when our shul was looking for a new rabbi, and it's part of a big story, a great story.
Okay.
And so they formed a committee
Sure.
to find the right candidates to interview. So when before I met with the board, I met with that committee, and the first thing they asked me was, how are you going to handle talking in shul?
Ooh.
Right? And my answer was, I first need to have relationships with people, right? So if the whole shul came and said, Rabbi, we don't care about talking during shul anymore, right? And we representing the whole congregation want you to stop saying the Misha Be'ach for those who don't talk during davening.
You do that?
Yes.
You say Misha Be'ach for the people that don't talk?
Yeah.
So in essence, you're singling out the people that do talk. You're only giving a Misha Be'ach to the people that didn't talk.
No, the Tosos Yom Tov wrote a special Misha Be'ach, right? Hashem should give special brachos to those who don't talk during davening.
That's like saying if you give a Mishaberach for the soldiers,
so
that
the
you're
list
singling
of
out the
people
ones that are not
No.
going. No. It's a general.
Misha Be'ach, hu yivarech es kol mi sheshomir.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not saying people's names.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
It's okay. We do this by me also, by the way.
Yeah, because I'm not a fan of
including. I don't think anyone's a fan
That's
of that.
already a little
Using
much.
shame as a vehicle for change?
Exactly. Right? Okay.
The rabbi gets up and says, Oshi, I'm sorry, you spoke this week.
You're out.
Get nothing.
You're out.
Right.
That's a kumbaya moment, by the way,
Right.
at least that we have here.
So listen, if that's where the people were, right? We don't care about not talking during davening. So I have three choices, right? I can fight them. I can walk away and talk about what horrible people they are and oh my God, what a disastrous kahila that was. And I'm so glad to be away from it. Or I can say, this is where the people are. How am I being a resource so they can connect closer to Hashem, right? You don't have to be at any particular place to have a person in your life who is a resource to help you use the Torah to live your best life to connect to Hashem. So I don't need to lord myself and my authority over people, right? Like Chaim said, they're adults, right? They're adults, and so much of what I try to motivate people is to feel autonomy over their lives, right? So much, whether it's my therapy clients, whoever it is, take ownership of your life, find your values, live your values, unless they conflict with what I think you should do, right? That'd be contradictory to my whole message, right? So I'm very content in a board shul, and as long as the board decides that, and the board representing the people, right? The board has this like evil feel to it, right? The board are the people that the kahila, as long as the kahila represented by the board feels that I am an effective resource in helping them live their best life through the Torah and connecting to Hashem, I'm happy to come do that and give of myself what I can. The day that they decide that I'm not that person anymore, then I'll walk away.
So be it.
Now,
I don't like that, but
I'll throw in a caveat. Not so be it.
Yeah.
Not so be it. So be it means like, okay, what? It means it's time for me to move on. Not just so be it. I will respect it. I will respect the autonomy of people who I've developed connections with, and when they tell me, it's time for this relationship in its current form to end, because what we need, the resource we need, is somebody different, something different. I'll respect it, and I'll shake hands, and I'll say thank you. And it was a wonderful however many years, right? Or maybe the time will come where I'll say it's time for me to move on in the same way I moved. But I don't need to have this. Now, I'll throw in, it's really important, right? Where you get into a messy situation where you said that how can the rabbi really say what he honestly thinks if the board can fire them, right? In the same way that I had an exit strategy for the for leaving education, because I didn't want the paying of the bills to be the necessary means to keep me captive in a classroom, right? I try, maybe I shouldn't say this publicly because it'll be held against me in contract negotiations, but I try that in my financial life, my shul salary not make the difference of whether or not I'm going to lose my house, right? I have my therapy practice. My wife and I together have our therapy business together. So again, I'm not going to say too much because I don't want it held against me when I'm negotiating a contract.
I do want to hear about what you and your wife have, though. That's interesting. What is that?
We talk about that.
Yeah, but before we do, I want to just make one more point on this.
But I'm saying,
not to belabor the point.
So a rabbi who as soon as the shul tells him, you're dismissed from your position, now the bank is going to foreclose on his house. That's a problematic dynamic that I get. But
I just have a very negative association when I hear that there was a rabbi of a shul. He was there for an extended period of time, and then one day he was fired. I'm like, what? What does that mean he was fired? The whole thing wasn't real to begin with then. This whole thing was a fake from the start. And I'll explain why. Greg Popovich, right? He's a very famous, Larry Brown, right? Very famous basketball coaches that have had years and years, decades of success. Like, nobody knows how to coach a basketball team better than those two. And there are others as well on that list, but, right? You take those people, they're amazing at coaching. You don't fire Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich retires. Larry Brown retires. That's what happens, right? You see him through until the very end, okay? Now, at a certain point, maybe they get very old and maybe they're not as capable, they don't have the same energy anymore. Okay, so you put them somewhere on the side, they become more celebratory at that moment. Like Tiger Woods today, playing golf is very celebratory. Everybody knows, right? He's just a staple of the game. So you don't suddenly get rid of Tiger Woods because he's not doing the job anymore. You keep him around and you bring in the next batch of people, right? That's fine. That's okay. To me, when I think of a rabbi, if they respect the rabbi enough, because I want to, like, this is the person I trust, then you didn't pick the right rabbi if you don't. To begin with, the job of that community, when they form together and say, let's go to this area, let's build a few houses, let's buy houses, and let's all start a community, which is what we did in our community, which is what we did. You have to bring, at that period, a real decision to make. Collectively, who do we trust? And go through the process and, one at a time, bring in rabbis for a couple of months at a time and test them out, no problem. But it's got to be at a certain point where you make a decision that this is the person I want to follow, not because, I might not like everything they say, and that's okay, because for the greater good, there has to be this commitment. It's a marriage. It's a marriage. There has to be a commitment. And at a certain, it's good for you. It's good for your soul. It's good for your family. I don't trust myself. You're right. I have kids. I don't think I make every right decision that's best for my kids. But from a spiritual standpoint, there is the rabbi who I trust vehemently, almost blindly, that sometimes I'm imagining that I don't even know why he's saying this, and I don't agree with him. But you know what? I chose to trust him because overall he'll make more better decisions than I will. And I don't think this is a lack of me not trusting myself. Hey, you should have more trust in yourself. Yeah, maybe I should. Maybe I should bring it up a little bit. Maybe I should. But never to the point where I want my rabbi to just be a figurehead. I want my rabbi to be, a job where, you can quit, you can move on. That's not real. That's not a real tangible relationship that I think a person, why does in the Mishnayos, they say, the first thing they say is, I think one of the, and make a Rebbe for yourself, right? Obviously, everybody translates that differently. It's up for interpretation. The way I interpret is, get a rabbi who you trust, who you're going to follow, and who's going to shape the decisions that you make and is going to guide you. That's how strongly I feel about it.
I must interject. I'm sorry. Because it says, make yourself a rabbi. Give yourself a rabbi. It doesn't, and nor would it ever say, gather 100 people and make all of them your rabbi. The game changes in the community. No, my point is the game in the community changes. The game in the NBA never changes. the community changes. You're going to get older, your kids are going to get older, the demographic might change, and the needs of the rabbi might change. That's why it's different in my
I think
opinion.
the Hasidim got it right in this one. I think the Hasidim got it right in this
The
one.
Hasidim actually, in fact, the ones that change the game.
Right. No, they didn't.
They're the ones that come into communities and change the game. Suddenly the rabbi doesn't fit the mold for the community anymore because the community has been taken over by Hasidim. It happens. You can't have a forever marriage.
We can go to a lot of places.
Yeah.
I'll finish my piece of this conversation by saying this. You said it wasn't real. A relationship does not have to be lifelong in order for it to be real. Okay?
Fair.
You can have a friendship, you can have any kind of relationship that is meaningful, connected, powerful, and then it's time.
That's a powerful message, by the way. Rabbi, that's a powerful message.
Yeah, he's right.
In everything in life.
He's right.
In everything you do in life. Just like you said last time, which is, you wake up in the morning, you take what you have, and you go from there. You don't start your balance sheet out perfect.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way, right? So
when I left the classroom, right, it was painful. I made the choice, right? And it was my choice. And it was painful because here was a part of my life that was so my identity was so wrapped up in it. And I really had a lot of confidence. I knew that I was really effective. I was really good at what I did. And I'm letting that go. And to develop the internal strength to say, I am not giving it up. I'm ending it, right? That chapter of my life, my years in the classroom, will always be part of my life, part of my story. It's meaningful. It didn't get cheapened because it didn't last the rest of my life. And so relationships can be real and then still have an expiration date.
Makes sense. I totally agree.
I like what you're saying. It's not a so be it or it is what it is. It's a meaningful till it was. Before we move on from the rabbi discussion, you got to tell us your best rabbi joke.
Ooh, my best rabbi joke.
I also want to hear after your joke, your one pet peeve about being a rabbi.
Oh boy, we don't want to leave this topic. We like it too much. Do you have a good rabbi joke?
So rabbis don't tell rabbi jokes. Rabbis tell
Rabbis
chazan
always
jokes.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Go for it.
So there's so many of them. I'll tell you a rabbi joke, right? It's more like a Talmudic type rabbi joke. Guy comes to the rabbi and says, "Rabbi, I want to build a house, but I don't know how." So he says, "Well, you're in luck. The Gemara, the Talmud, gives very clear instructions on how to build a house." So he says, "Really? Show me." And the rabbi takes the guy over to the bookcase, pulls out the Gemara, opens, says, "If you read this daf from top to bottom, right, it tells you exactly how to build a house." The guy is thrilled. Takes the Gemara, he goes to Home Depot, he buys everything the Gemara says he needs to get, and he follows the instructions. It's going beautifully. He is building this gorgeous colonial, and he puts in the last nail, and he says, "It's time to go invite everyone for the Chanukah Sabayas, celebrate the new house." And as he's walking out, he closes the door behind him, and the whole house collapses into a heap. It's like, what happened? And he comes to the rabbi and says, "Rabbi, I followed everything the Gemara said. I was so careful to the T. I got all the right materials and the tools, and I followed the instructions so well. And then my house collapsed when I closed the door." And the rabbi says, "Yeah, that's Tosa's question."
That's great. Oh, that's great. That's a good rabbi joke. You see, I like that. That's actually very funny. Now,
That's good.
that's great.
That's
All right.
good.
So what
Go
about
back to the pet peeve. I like
Yes,
that question
go
too.
back to the pet peeve? What was, as a rabbi?
Give us a pet peeve.
Probably
everyone.
other rabbis as well could probably experience. But for you personally, what's your pet peeve as for being a rabbi that you have to deal with and it's super annoying?
So I'm not going to call it a pet peeve. I'll say, what is something that I have recognized to be a part of the job that I didn't realize was beforehand?
Good way to
But
say
you
it.
See, this is a good
Excellent.
rabbi.
Yeah.
He has a better way of diplomatically
Yes,
rephrasing your
yes.
question. Excellent.
And it's, when people ask a question and they want black and white answers where a black and white answer is not appropriate, right? People ask me, do I have to sit in the sukkah under these conditions? I'll say, well, it's going to depend. You have to decide if this is distressing enough to you, right? And like, so do I or don't I?
Right.
I'm like, when I very often, if I tell people, here are the parameters under which you need to make that decision. It's your call. I will tell you the parameters under which you should make the decision, and people don't like that. Just tell me what to do, right? And so that is something that
you have a bunch of Ushis running around asking you what to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
No, Michael, don't exaggerate. No. I don't appreciate that. Don't make this now into almost a mockery.
No, not at all.
I don't ask the rabbi permission to go to the bathroom.
Obviously,
that's not what the intention was.
Obviously, but you do.
You may.
If he asks you if you said
where people who want to try to make their point, they start putting down your point. Right. You see what he just did here? You see what he just did?
You make a caricature of the other person's point.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's
it was done well.
Yeah.
It was done well.
Yeah.
Done well.
By the way,
yes, thank you.
if you would have a rabbi that wasn't part of a board, you wouldn't have done that.
To your point, my rabbi was asked, should Michael get up and talk about Israel? That's exactly what the question was that was brought
Which
to
is
him.
a fair question.
Yeah, and it wasn't a yes or no question. It was a discussion. Well,
but your rabbi's part of a board, so he doesn't have all that much say. So Michael Greenfield standing up. And
but is it a spiritual question or is it not? That's what the question was.
I think it intertwines one with the
right.
other.
That's why it's not black and white. That's what the rabbi's saying.
Yeah.
I'm resonating with what you're saying with exactly what I gave as a sample. Yeah.
Do you think that the rabbis...
I have to apologize for you. I was waiting this entire time to bring out this gift, and I think now is the perfect time to bring out this gift.
It's always the perfect time for gifts. I'm not sure what you mean you were waiting for the perfect time.
No. I figured
when is it not a perfect time?
I figured I might be a little bit too much, and you might get like, whoa, and that's what happens. So it happens from time to time.
Okay.
So I have always with me gifts
future,
waiting for me to give to you.
I always accept gifts.
Yeah.
It's always a good time.
I will only give them at appropriate times, though. Sorry.
Okay.
Anyways, last time we sat with you, Rabbi, we asked you what your favorite book was. Do you remember what you said?
Ooh. Yes, I remember.
And I said, what did I say? I said I'd get it.
I'm ordering it right now.
I said I'm ordering it right now. It came in, and Ushi, I bestow upon you the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Beautiful. Mike, I love to read.
Yes.
So, I'm going to read this cover to cover. Wow, 15 million copies sold. That's
Rabbi, why did you suggest this book?
So why did I suggest this book? So it is up there on the books that I appreciate. I don't know if I have it ranked as number 1. I suggested it because when our discussion last time, right, we were talking about how to most effectively manage situations and manage the time and approach a project.
Well, I just want to say in full transparency, we came to you for advice and we asked you point blank, we're starting a podcast and we know that we're going to be speaking to people and this is our demographic and we want to really make the best impact in the shortest amount of period of time. And that's what the discussion was. So kudos to you, Rabbi, for really taking your time and speaking to us about that topic. And I'm a strong believer.
And for the record, my advice was not, well, if you wanted to be successful, you have to bring me on.
No, that was ours.
It took us months. We
had to really...
I think we only said one rabbi joke in that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stefan.
Exactly. Get carried away. We had to really prod you to come
so continue. What was that point that you were making with this book?
So, I have to remember exactly what the point was.
The reason why you recommended this book at the time.
So I'm trying
the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Right. So this book, the idea of approaching things systematically, because of the win-win. I believe that one of his habits of highly effective people is you think win-win. That when you approach a situation looking to squeeze the other party as much as possible to get as much without giving a little, right? That never works out well in the long run.
Doesn't.
Right? And that's the way, a lot of our discussions have included those elements. But that was one idea. Did we touch on sharpening the saw as well?
I don't remember.
No, let's do that now.
No.
What is that?
Sharpening the saw is fantastic. It's an old parable. I don't think he didn't make this up, but there's a woodsman in the woods, and he's got a saw, and he's sawing away at a tree, trying to cut it down. And he's like 3 hours sawing away at the same tree. And the kid comes by and says, "Mister, why is it taking you 3 hours to cut down that tree?" And he says, "Well, my saw is really, really dull. So it doesn't cut very fast." He says, "Why don't you sharpen the saw?" Right? He says, "Well, I'm so behind schedule that if I take the 20 minutes needed to sharpen the saw, right? I'll fall 20 minutes further behind. I don't have that time. You see, it's already taken me 3 hours to cut down the tree, right? Highly effective people, says Stephen Covey, make and take the time to keep the saw sharp, right? You take the time, no matter how hectic your life may be, whether it's leisure, whether it's therapy, whether it's professional development, whatever is needed to keep you on the cutting edge, to keep you most effective. So if it takes you a couple of hours a week or more, right? But now everything else you do is more efficient and more productive. So it's time well spent.
Sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's like,
I can't wait for you to read the book.
I'm going to get very smart now. Yeah, I'm going to become a rabbi, I think.
I guess we could, why don't you guys, now I'll turn to you and ask the questions. That's it. I'm taking over.
This is not how it works.
Go ahead. No,
Not how
I
this
like
works.
that idea.
You want the rabbi as the authority, right? How do you guys keep the saw sharp?
How do we keep the saw sharp of what, though?
Yourselves.
Of life?
Of
Our
yourself.
emotional
Which part
self?
of our lives? Our
Which
business
part?
side,
Yeah.
our personal side, our family side.
Let's say,
I can
Why
tell
don't
you
you-
from the
why
family.
don't you point to one of us and ask a specific question? We're happy to answer
More
it.
granular.
what do you do that is not directly connected to your business? Well, you know what? We've spoken a lot, so I'm going to turn in your direction now. What do you do in your life that's not directly related to the goals you're trying to accomplish, but makes you more efficient at accomplishing them?
Easy question to answer. I meditate every day. I Zen. That's what it is. I have a hard time praying from a sitter. I find it difficult to repeat the same words and find meaning over and over again. I do see the value of saying it in certain words that are meaningful for me. For example, when I leave the bathroom, I always say the certain prayer that, brings meaning new to me every time, and that was taught to me by
Me too.
Mr. Rosenwasser.
It's so funny. We share that
Yeah.
in common. When every time I come out of the bathroom, it's like one of the things that I actually do all
Yeah.
consistently is I say Asher Yatzar. Every time I just appreciate it. That,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I love it. So in general, but the concept of praying in the morning is so important in general. If you look at it from a perspective of Zen or meditation or just connection to your own self, you'll have a better time throughout your day. And that's what I find helps me. So that's what I do. I scale back my time.
How much time does that take you, the meditation?
Honestly, I'm not going to exaggerate. 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
What do those 5 minutes give you in terms of productivity, in terms of
It gives me collection of my thoughts and prioritizing my day. That's really what it does every single day. I think about what I have in front of me. Like you said earlier, I've learned that from you already, that today starts off at it's already great. I have so much to be thankful for. What do I want to accomplish? So that's what helps me.
how much time do you save in your day from a productivity standpoint because you spend those 5 minutes?
Probably a few hours. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point.
So that's the concept of sharpening the
I love that. Rabbi, I have to ask you, you're an avid cyclist. I know, didn't you come here with your bicycle today?
Absolutely.
How long did that take you?
I came here with one of my bicycles.
How many bicycles do you own?
At the moment, 4.
What's the most expensive bike you own?
Is my Trek Domani.
Okay, board, please close your ears. I'm joking, but how much does that cost?
So
Retail price, I'm saying. Forget about what you got it for.
I didn't buy it as a whole.
Retail price, what does it go for?
I didn't buy it in one piece.
Oh, okay.
I bought different
So
components. frame and
what's the
components.
value of that bike brand new?
That is an $8,000 bike.
Wow,
Amazing.
that's a lot.
It's amazing.
It-
It's a great investment.
$8,000
in the
for a
circles
bike.
in which I run, that's not high end.
Yeah,
You'll spend more than that. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So
Do you compete in competitions?
The only competitive cycling I do is virtually. There's
Like on the Peloton?
well, it's not Peloton. It's a different platform called Zwift. I don't know if we're
Okay.
advertising for Zwift here.
sure, we advertise for
But
anything that
it's,
works.
But something
Yeah.
virtual, yeah.
But it's where one of my 4 bikes is on a smart trainer that reads my power, and the platform knows my body metrics. And there are races where I'm racing with people in real time.
Wow.
And
Where are you ranking? Like how do you do in terms of per hour or minute? How does it work?
so, and
In cycling.
I'm not sure we were asking.
Yeah, I wasn't either sure.
I'm asking in
What-
general how fast do you cycle
Yeah,
in
but
a
first
certain
let
mile?
finish your story. What position
sorry,
are
go
you
ahead.
trying to say? Like where he's up
So
to in the competition?
So in Zwift, in this platform, the race rankings are A, B, C, and D.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
So
it was-
I'm in C rank, and I'm basically at the top of C rank.
Wow.
Oh,
I
wow.
win most of my races. A couple of years back, I was actually where they had worldwide rankings. I was number 1.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's a very big deal.
When are you going to go to B? How do you get into Group B?
So every season, I get upgraded because my fitness and my power
Getting
numbers
better.
move up. And then
Even as you're getting older.
what? Well, throughout the season, it goes up, and then ironically, in the outdoor season where I'm riding outdoors, this workout is less structured. So I start the next season back in C and work my way back up to till I'm upgraded again to B. It's a whole.
So again, so how long did it take you to get here today by bike?
So I didn't check because it's hot and I'm wearing dress clothes.
Yeah, yeah.
I pedal really softly. I was probably moving 12, 13 miles an hour, which is maybe 14 miles an hour because it's not
Right. So it's a 20-minute drive for me to get here. How long did it take you to
you're
bike?
talking about from an efficiency.
Yeah,
right.
right.
Okay, there we go. Now I understand where we're going.
Yeah.
I probably spent 35, 40 minutes getting here.
When I spend 20 minutes on a car, you only spent 40 and you got here with exercise and
That's crazy.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it takes us 20 minutes with a car going
Yeah.
50 miles an hour. Wow.
Wow.
I guess he's going a more. You have a different path getting here, like a more direct path.
The route I took is 9 miles.
Interesting.
Wow. But you don't obviously use your phone. You're not, you
What
know.
do you do? While
Right. What do
you're
you do while
biking?
you're biking?
What do you do?
So it really depends on the type. I do different types of biking. So I do bike commuting, which is the type I did getting here.
Mhm.
And then, I might be listening to something, or I might be just thinking and just letting my mind wander. And then when I do real fitness riding, like, yesterday I did about a 50-mile ride up Bear Mountain. And
50 miles?
Wow. Up Bear Mountain?
What?
That's amazing.
Yeah, up Perkins
Stop it.
Memorial
Wait a second.
Drive.
Wait a second. You biked 50 miles?
That's not a long ride.
What's the longest you've
I
ever ridden?
can't drive.
The longest
50
I've ever
miles.
ridden?
Yeah.
162 miles.
Oh
What?
my goodness.
You
Wow.
biked 162 miles?
My son, this was in like 2017, my son, or 2018, 2019, 18. Anyway, my son was up in sleepaway camp in the Catskills. And I got up in the morning, I daven Vasik, and I daven Chakras right at sunrise. Hopped on my bike, rode out there, had lunch with him, hopped back on the bike.
Wow. How long is Bike for Chai, just for context? Sorry.
Bike for Chai is about 180 miles between 2 days.
So they break it.
And you did all that in one morning.
Now one morning, I got
Well,
back,
you went to him for lunch, right?
and I
So-
got back Shkia.
Of course, but I'm saying, but you
One day he did it.
Yeah, one day, right. One-
Were
right.
your legs on fire?
So, no, because I do proper training.
I usually don't ask questions, but I'm curious about one thing. When you have to go somewhere, do you ever think, "Oh, I'll just drive," or is it like, "Oh,
Right,
of course,
versus-
of course, I'm taking the bike."
So when I have to go somewhere, the first option is, "Ooh, can I bike there?"
Wow.
Right? That's the first question, and that's always better. I was 16 years old. I got my driver's license. I sat in the car, and it was really fun and exciting for 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah. You want to hear a really fun fact?
Please.
Okay.
You love fun facts.
So I'm a very, like you said, very avid cyclist. I am the captain of the local Bike for Chai team.
Ooh.
I'm a big member of the cycling community here. We have a big ride coming this Sunday. I'm making the. I ride between real life and virtual thousands and thousands of miles a year.
Are you one of the guys that wear those tight Spanx things, and
Spandex,
spandex?
right? Lycra.
Everyone does.
Yes.
They all do, yeah.
I always thought
Some of them should not. It should be illegal for some of you guys. I'm sorry.
I agree. And also,
My wife agrees.
yeah, we all agree. All of us driving by, but I'll tell you what, it looks super uncomfortable. It doesn't look like it's even comfortable. I'm not sure the purpose of it. I'd rather just wear shorts, freestyle shorts and free fall shorts, whatever. It's very tight. How do they do it?
You
have to get used
it's
to it. Probably.
much better riding with it than without it.
Right,
Okay.
right.
But
Anyway,
Like scuba diving, you have your gear. That's your
Right.
gear. You're wearing. It's like you're going through the ear. You want to go through it
This
comfortably.
Sunday
Yeah.
is going to be the 10-year anniversary of the very first time in my life I ever rode a two-wheel bicycle.
Wow.
10 years?
Yeah.
That you rode a two-wheeler?
Yeah.
You only started biking for the first time 10 years ago?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
You only learned how to drive a bike.
You know how like when your kid, you get your kid and they take off the training wheels and they start
Right,
riding.
of course.
You started.
I did that at 35 years old.
Get out of here. What did I just miss? I thought you started at 16 when you got your license and you realized.
No, I hated driving. That's what I'm saying. I never liked driving. You asked me about do I ever want to.
So since 16, you got your license, you hated driving, but you continued. And then at 35, you decided to take the training wheels off and learn how to ride a bike.
This is insane.
At 35, I learned how to ride a bike.
It's like
Wow.
somebody saying, I play golf professionally now. How long? About 2
Yeah, a
years.
couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years. Like, how do you get so good at something in such a short period of time?
So, thank God, my fitness was good. I was always active. So in my 20s, I played a lot of tennis. In my early 30s, I did a lot of rollerblading. So the fitness I had, but as a kid, I never learned how to ride a bike.
Wow.
You're making up for lost time, aren't you?
I'm sorry, I have to ask
He's
because
trying to make
I
up
have
a
to
lot.
ask this question simply because I'm known in my neighborhood as the person that teaches kids how to ride bicycles. I have a good method.
If I would have met you 11 years ago,
I'm just curious. If you would have came to me at 35 and said, "Hey, Michael, could you help me?" I don't know what I would have done. I don't know if I could have done the same method.
Other kids in the neighborhood.
There's a certain method, yes, where fathers come to me and they say, "Can you help my kid ride his bike?"
What's the method?
Just push.
He puts them on Route 306.
What's that?
He says
What's
go.
the method?
Just push.
I'm well aware what the method.
No,
is. Then
no.
Why do these parents need you to
Well,
do that?
it's not easy to teach a kid to ride a bike. It's a process. You have to put the
You have
proper
to
training
hold
wheels
them,
on.
and they go.
To hold them as
And
they
then
go, you have to
sometimes
let go and not be afraid. Yeah,
it's rocket science. Like,
So-
like if you work for NASA, then you
At
can
35, what did you do to start
so the
riding a
story
bike?
goes like this. It was 2014.
I'm sorry, one second. You owe me a book, by the way.
Why do you?
So because you're putting me down to
'Cause
put
he got
you
you
up.
a book.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm not.
No,
putting
because
you down.
it's NASA to
No,
ride a bike. We have to
I'm
teach how to ride a
putting
bike.
The parents.
Oh, the parents down. Oh,
that are
okay.
telling you
Oh, okay.
to teach their kid how to ride a bike.
Yeah, no, not
They're
necessarily.
missing out on their
It's-
experience.
No,
with their
they're
child.
standing out there. They're out there with me. It's a method, though.
Michael, that's
It's a
I'm
process.
saying that these parents should know better.
No, they
than
shouldn't.
To say, Michael,
Not-
teach my kid how to ride a
Not
bike.
so
It's being
simple.
lazy.
Teach my kid how to swim. What are you talking
They're
about? I
being
don't
lazy,
agree.
these fathers.
No, it's
they're
not.
being lazy.
Just
and
because
they're
you
putting
know-
the job onto you.
just because you-
and you should start saying no to them.
Absolutely
You should
not.
say, do me a favor, teach your own kid how to ride a bike.
No. I love it. Are you kidding me? It's a method. It takes me 2 hours and they know how to ride a bike. Some parents struggle for weeks and they don't know what they're doing because they get too nervous to let go. So I teach them to let go. But Rabbi, so what did you do at 35?
So it was Shabbos.
Still owe me a gift.
It was the Shabbos right after.
Did you give me a gift so you can get a gift back? Is that what you did?
No.
Because then you could have this
Let me
back.
clarify. No, absolutely
Give it
not.
a full
I'm
heart.
just using your method. That's all. Go ahead.
I'll recommend you the right book to get.
Rabbi, what would that be actually? How to make friends and influence people?
No, you do good already there.
Podcasting 101.
Yeah.
So
I want to learn how you learn to ride a bike. Tell me about the process.
2014.
Yes. You're 35.
35.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine comes to me in Shul and says, I just got back from Bike for Chai. And it is the most unbelievable experience for the most unbelievable cause. Right? And just, he says, Aaron, you have to do this. Next year, you have to do Bike for Chai. I'm like, sold. I'll do it. Okay. Step one, learn to ride a bike. So
Did he know that you didn't know how to ride a bike?
I told him.
Oh, you told him. Okay.
I told him, I said, I don't know how to, but
Right.
okay, listen, I got a year.
Yeah.
So the next day was Sunday, and I took my 10-year-old son's bike. He was almost 10. And I did some Google research. In New York City, Bike New York has classes teaching adults how to ride a bike.
No way.
So I found out that the next morning in the Bronx, in one of the parks in the Bronx, they were having the class. So I took my 9-year-old's bike, put it in the car, and it's a tall kid. So
you're saying they needed a whole class to teach people how to ride because it's not so easy
like
to
2
ride, to teach people. By the way, so the one thing I focus on when I have kids, and I'm curious if they did this by you, is just the balance. Forget about pedaling.
Yes.
Just learn how to balance.
So I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So I got there like an hour early because I didn't know what traffic would be like. And at that point, I was motivated. I was committed. So, what all the people when I was a kid, all the Michaels in the world who were telling me, okay, you're not going to fall. You're not going to fall.
Right.
But I was too scared to,
Yeah.
So by this point, like, I just want to do it already. So it was my will. Right.
Wow.
So by the time the class started, I was already doing laps around the park somewhat. The instructor came with pedal wrenches and took the pedals off of everyone's bike. No, that's what you're saying. So,
Right.
So don't worry about pedaling. And we used our feet like Flintstone style, Fred Flintstone,
Love
and
it.
we coasted, we glided, And then you lift up your feet, and you got used to that idea
Balancing.
of balancing and how the motion of the bike will just carry you. And then they put everyone's pedals back on. And,
Yeah, that's what you learn.
Wow.
Two and a half weeks later. So I took this class on a Sunday morning. 2.5 weeks later, we had Sheva Brachos in Brooklyn. And I told my wife, I'll meet you there.
No way.
That's when it started. At
that point, I already had bought myself, a Walmart type bike or Target bike, and she drove in. I met her there, and my in-laws were still living there, so I had a place to shower and change.
Wow.
And so it was 2.5 weeks after. So I took to it pretty quickly.
Right away. And the rest is history. On Shark Tank on the show, somebody invented a bike for kids to teach kids how to ride two-wheelers. And the invention is that they don't have pedals on the bike. And it's basically, using their feet like the Flintstones.
A strider, they call it. They're called striders.
I don't remember what the name is. The concept is called striders or the company?
Yeah, those bikes exist in the world.
Yeah.
And they're called a strider bike.
Okay. This is going back like 5 years ago. I saw this on the show. So it could be that, it's been around now. But they got a deal from the Sharks. That was a very big deal as well. They got a lot of money. But it was that was the concept. Is first you got to just learn how to basically balance, on the bike, and the rest is easy, right? So it's pretty fascinating. Do you have any other secret talents that we don't know about? Is there any? What else do you do on your spare time?
My spare time. What's spare time?
There's no spare time. Everything is used so strategically. I see.
I know strategically.
What other hobbies do you have? What else do you like to do?
So right now, really, all my leisure time is because I've just become so focused on the cycling. That became my I'll say healthy obsession, and so I have in my bike room in my house, I have a scratch off map of the 50 states, and every state that I ride my bike in, I scratch off.
Wow, how many states have you done so far?
I think now I'm up to 13.
Amazing.
So,
You have a long way to go. Okay.
But I'm not. It's not a race. And
what does it do from I'm just curious, from a psychological level, because I have to tell you that I've learned a lot by going to therapy for years. And one of the trade secrets within therapy is this need for your dopamine, your right? So I'm curious if you can explain to us from your perspective what it does for you when you're biking and when you're exercising or you're swimming or you're playing pickleball. What is that need?
So every day it's a different need, and it fills that need. For me, it's about mind, body, and soul. So as far as my body is concerned, right, my cardiovascular system is in really good shape. My blood pressure is lower. My resting heart rate is low. I have back and neck arthritis. I have spasm when I'm riding a lot. My muscles are stretched out. Right, if I go a few days without riding, I start getting stiffness. So the benefits to my body are
physical. That's all physical
right.
self.
That's body.
That's body.
Right. Mind, it helps clear out my mind when there's a lot of clutter, when there's a lot of stress, when there's a lot of, I can't think straight. Right. Sometimes my wife says, "Go bike out the crazy." She says
smart
that
woman.
affectionately. Yes, very smart woman. She says that affectionately, and go for a ride. Just go.
Yeah.
Maybe I coined the term "bike out the crazy," but she knows that when I'm stressed,
right,
I need to sharpen that saw. So it clears the mind, right? Especially if you have a gorgeous day, and we happen to live in an unbelievable area for cycling. We have Harriman State Park, and we have all the reservoirs in New Jersey. And you can go further north in the Catskills.
Where's the nicest place to go cycling right now that you've experienced?
The one nicest,
or maybe even walking. You can also walk, you don't have to.
So Harriman State Park would be a slam dunk, except that because it's so close,
very close,
and we've all ridden it all the cyclists have ridden it so many times, we forget how amazing it is. But anybody here who's never been, who lives in the Rockland County area, there's beautiful hiking there. So if you like to hike, I'm not a hiker. The cycling there is gorgeous, very low traffic. The roads are pretty well maintained, and the scenery is unbelievable. If you just appreciate nature and scenery and serenity, right? There's unbelievable serenity there.
By the way, I get that with my top down when I go with my Mustang convertible. You know what I mean? It helps also. It doesn't help my body, right, but it definitely helps my mind. I go there a lot. The views are fantastic. It's just you take in the nature and the air, and suddenly I see that I like birds.
Right.
Right.
So interesting, because he asked me, what else? So I said mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
So there's body and there's mind.
Yeah.
and then there's soul.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, and this is something that I think we've discussed in other discussions, spirituality is intertwined with the idea of connectedness, right? Being one with God and the universe and everything, right? Other people, right? Everything in existence. Feeling part of that existence. On a day where the sun is shining and the wind is rustling the trees and the birds are chirping and there's the crickets and even I hear a snake slithering in the woods. So, and I'm biking and I'm exerting myself. My heart rate is at threshold, right? Where, so I'm feeling it. I'm respirating. I'm breathing. I'm feeling strong, and all of a sudden I'm one with the world around me, right? There's so much life and there's so much goodness. My soul feels so uplifted. I have a good friend who, I like to ride with, David Hamburger, and he liked to say, every great Shabbos starts with Erev Shabbos in Harriman, right? And I love that, and it's like so true. When you're in that serenity and that peaceful place, it puts you in that spiritual mindset that, it motivates me now to want to connect with people, to want to be there for people, to want to form a network where I can give of myself to others and receive what they have to give for me. So what it does, mind, body, soul, that's the best way I can.
I love it. I do want to ask you a question that I know is going to invite another part 3 to this. So I don't want to get too into it, but how do you define soul?
How do I define soul?
Yeah.
What is a soul? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm asking how he defines soul. He says, your soul feels it. Your soul, I know a little bit because I've gone to his classes that he's given. So, but I'd like to hear the clarity from him.
The soul, well, it really gets into how I define God and the universe, right? Which is the totality of existence. So the soul is that part of the totality of existence that is defined as me. I don't have a great, clear definition because all our definitions are trying to define them in physical terms.
Right.
Right? How they're separate and distinct from other things, which is really the antithesis of what a soul is. So, but that's the best I could say. The part of the totality of existence that is me, that my body interacts with, that...
Is it fair to say subconscious?
Is it fair to say that the soul is the subconscious? I have to think about that one.
It's certainly not the conscious part of you. So I'm not sure if it's
the conscious part of you it all has access to the soul.
All right, to be continued.
Michael,
To be continued. Yeah. I said, I prefaced it.
The question of teach me the entire Torah on one leg, please. Right? That's what he just did. Right? He wants a sentence of
all I want.
What is a soul?
I just
You're
want.
not getting that here today.
I just want more. I want more. That's all I'm saying. It was so nice having you, Rabbi. I have to say that our podcast that we're doing here is about our growth personally and professionally. Having someone like you here and talking about the reality of our anxieties and seeing us being vulnerable and transparent, invites the discussion to continue and for us to continue to grow and start off every day anew. I love that approach. And I look forward to doing more. Ushi, any parting words, questions, or thoughts?
So I want to give one parting word, which is somewhat advice to other people that are listening, is as a company, we've recognized the importance of, most companies know this, is the culture of a company is critical. Everybody's rowing the boat the same way, very important. And what we've recognized is that one of the ways to enhance that culture is to bring in, periodically, once every couple of weeks, I think we do it, where we bring in a rabbi specifically we chose, because rabbis have a very unique art form in what they do. They're preachers. And not just preaching, though. They have a lot of worldly experiences as well, and they combine everything, and people can really be uplifted by it, and people become more positive from it. So we've recognized that, and as a company, we bring in rabbis, only rabbis specifically, to come in and to talk to the entire company, and we found it to be so beneficial. The feedback we've been getting is incredible. So for anybody listening that has a company and they have employees, and they're always looking for new creative ways, how to enhance the culture of the country.
Yeah.
I think that they should reach out to their local rabbi, people who they're close with, and bring them into the fold. And I think the rabbis like it. They appreciate it as well.
Yeah, we do that here. We rotate, and you've been here before, so you're a part of that, growth with us. I do want to mention, though, rabbis that are leaders, mentors, therapists, people that have ideas and good ideas to share, not just rabbis. Because to become a rabbi, you need to know not to mix meat and milk together, and you need to be very, learned about the laws of kosher, not just rabbis. Just want to clarify that.
Of course, yes. Saying people that we have immediate access to, that are in our circles, in our communities every day.
That help us grow.
People get lost, like that's all they do. They're so capable.
It's a great tip for any company.
Right.
You know what? Billions, the show Billions, Rabbi, I'm not sure if you heard of the show. It's a fantastic show.
Amazing show.
And it's all about, it's a high-driven company, and they're all very, very smart and hardworking. Reminds me of Prime Source, okay?
You're
the
right.
energy and the people, and they have a full-time therapist. In-house. And it helps them. And not only it helps them, it's part of their organization. They have HR, they have receivables, payables,
she's part of the leadership
therapy
as well.
Yeah. Having a rabbi.
Company decisions based on what she's saying.
And Oshie, you're 100% right for bringing it up. And I applaud you and the organization and the people of Prime Source that made this happen, especially our partner Mark and David that are behind this initiative. And it's a great idea. I think people have programs where people learn with one another. That's also fantastic. This is just another way to help build each other up. The morale, the culture.
Long, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, and to give us tools like we had here today. Yeah. Real tools that we can use in our everyday life, which is amazing. Yeah.
Rabbi Spivak, I want to thank you because I don't care if we have one listener from this. I was avidly listening throughout, and you enhanced and you improved my life. So especially with the tools that we spoke about in the previous hour was amazing. It's going to sit with me. I've processed it a little bit since then, but I'm going to digest it and process it even more, and just know that you made a difference in my life, and ultimately in my child's life, and in his child's life. So this is very impactful. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming on.
It was really a pleasure. It's always great to spend time with you guys and talking about some issues and topics that are really important to me, and pleasure was mine.
I love it. And I think I coined a phrase from this discussion is, let's continue to grow together. And we'll end with that.
Together.
Love it.
Exactly.
Together we are experts.
Together we are stronger. Together we can grow.
Go to greater heights.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
That's a wrap.
All right.